Welcome everybody, Dan the Wolfman, 9mm versus 45 ACP Part 2. Not sure when I'll release it. This is only the day after I released the first one, which was very well researched. I'm going to do one off the cuff right now to address other issues about 9mm versus 45 ACP. If you haven't watched the first one, I actually did the science that no one's ever done all the years in doing this caliber war. But the science is big. Tissue crush is big. And what you didn't realize about clear gel is that it makes smaller diameter, under 40 caliber bullets, and probably even the smallest pocket pistol ones penetrate much farther than they do in real clear gel. In the 9mm 124 HST, it was 6.3 inches farther, 1.52 something times, 1.5 times the penetration. So everyone's like, 9mm penetrates farther. No, that's clear gel. So you got to realize the difference. And you got to realize when you're looking like a 38, and you're like, 30 HST does 13 inches of penetration in clear ballistics. Well, it's not even listed on Federal's / Vista's website, because reality is it's probably 10.5 inches in real gel. And remember, FBI said 12 to 18 in real gel. In clear gel, you want it to be 22, 23 inches. And more, the smaller diameter the caliber is, from all the data that I can tell, though there are some variables that don't go with that. But the general rule, you're looking at 9mm clear ballistics is not real gel. So go back and watch that video. We're talking over 2 times more powerful, more tissue crush. I shouldn't say more powerful, more damaging, more effective 45 top hollow point like HST versus a 9mm HST. So, guys, now having said that, 9mm, where does it excel over 45? It excels over 45 with newer shooters. Obviously, up until recently, it excelled in cost. For a newer shooter, with their mistakes they make in their grip and recoil control, a 9mm is more forgiving than the mistakes of 45. Not really going to go into 40 because 40 has ballistics better than 9mm. It really does, especially if you're looking for excellent penetration, 165 grain gold dot, really far penetration. If you're looking for bears and humans, oh my, 40 and 10mm comes into its own. But like FBI said, most people, and there's some big boys around me, but when most the calibers in real gel, we do 12 to 13.5 inches of penetration. They say up to 18, but big people aren't really bigger than 18 inches of incomparable to real ballistics gelatin. 4-layer testing is what we talk about, because 4-layer is what matters. When people do clear ballistics without layers in front of it, it's almost a meaningless test, guys. All you YouTubers, stop doing it. Throw some old jeans on there, or at least a couple layers of t-shirt and a hoodie or something. Go to, get some used clothes and do that instead. Okay, so 9mm, yes, can be better for a newer shooter. No one's ever said that. But with an experienced shooter, after you've been shooting about 3 years of your life, if you're taking things seriously and training at least twice a month, you should be able to handle the recoil over 45. People are like, oh my god, a 45 recoil is so much in a 40-ounce 1911. I got back into shooting a 45 with that 21.7-ounce Car CW45 that I showed you yesterday. Under 22 ounce, probably 22 ounce because I use an extended magazine, a 22 ounce pistol. And I tested it, my split times, 2 of the lightest 45s available versus 2 of the lightest 9mm available. I have a video on 9mm versus 45 split times. Another guy just did one recently. I watched it yesterday, and he did himself, and basically the same thing, experienced shooter, and a newer shooter, yes, was faster split times with the 9mm. But he is basically the same with 9 and 45. 40, yes, in studies, 40 recoil is more sharp, but it's not only more sharp muzzle flip, what people say, it's because it is destabilized with torque left and right, from what I can find out. So really, that's why 40 maybe isn't the best issue for the ballistics advantage it has over 9mm, but yeah, 45 is still a huge ballistics advantage over 9mm, and same accuracy and split times in experienced shooters' hands and similar pistols. I mean, maybe the slightest statistical insignificance difference in a good shooter's, a really good shooter's hand. So, 9mm, better for beginners. Yeah, absolutely. 45, better for experienced, if they choose, or better for SWAT teams, hostage rescue teams, SIS, you know, entry teams doing high-risk warrants. Yeah, any pistol is not a rifle or shotgun. I have another ballistics video you need to check out. Whoa! My stand's losing its power because it was made in China. So it's falling apart. But, guys, for like guys doing that, if you think you might rely on a pistol to do a room entry and hope to drop a bad guy in 2 or 3 shots, like SEAL Team 6, going after Osama with HK45Cs and hot ass ammo, from what I know, some plus P ammo. Now I think only ARs were used, and you're wise to use a long gun. 12 gauge or 5.56 or 7.62 does a heck of a lot better than any pistol. I admit that. But a 45 is way far superior in tissue crush. It just is. Watch video 1. Okay. So, what about other things like capacity? Okay, so today I just got back from going to dinner. I carried my CW45 as my primary, and my backup was the PPQ SC I showed yesterday with 3.5-inch polygonal barrel, higher velocity. That's in my pocket still today. I just swapped out, though, again, staying in the holster, my Beretta 92A1. Why did I bring this out? Well, because barrel length matters in 9mm, in any caliber. Barrel length matters until it's too long. Barrel length matters, and in 45 and 9mm, basically, you don't really want to go under 3.5 inches unless you really have to go under 3.5 inches barrel, because it's your work gun, because it's your backup gun, or you pocket carry, or it's your backup gun and offside front pocket like I do. Okay? So, and even then, I carry 3.5 and 3.64 inch for my backup guns. My backup guns are more effective, both sight radius, making hits, and stopping power, i.e. tissue crush, than other people's primaries. Just something to think about. Anyway, most of the best hollow points, most of the best top-of-the-line hollow points perform good in 3.5-inch barrels. They're made for 4-inch barrels primarily, unless it's called like a gold dot short barrel. 3.5-inch barrels for the best hollow points. Basically, in 45 or 9mm, if you're not shooting this 5-inch barrel, if you're shooting under 3.5 inches, if you're shooting a 3-inch, 3.1, 3.1H, like I talked yesterday, Shields, Hellcats, P365s, John at Active Self Protection, little P30SC, whatever it's friggin' called, 3.27 inch barrel. You have to go with an HST. Really. I haven't seen anything very good under 3.5 inches reliably other than HST rounds. Gold dots, 147 and 3.5 inch, gold dot G2. Perform pretty good in a 4-inch barrel, usually. Do they perform good in a 3.5 inch barrel? No, look at 7 and 6 videos. Comparing Glock 17 size barrels to Glock 26 barrels with the G2 147 grain. And yes, there's been street results saying bad problems. Real world, going back to the day, those Spears written me back and, you know, said some of that was rectified. So barrel length absolutely matters. Again, if you're under 3.5 inches, whether it's 45 or 9mm, HST is the way to go. There's some that are kind of decent, sort of, maybe 124V Crown, maybe, kind of, and not really. Maybe certain 115 plus Ps, 2 of them that perform well. I would not do plus P plus an under 3.5 inch barrel pistol. But I brought the 92A1 out. Why? Because even more than a 92, because this is based on a 96, it is basically a 96, meaning it's beefed up in little areas that really matter with recoil reduction, besides having a recoil buffer inside. That's why I got the 92A1 instead of Parhell's goody old favorite 92 M9. Because this one can actually handle recoil of what I just reloaded it with the other night, because of what I got in stock. I have the first round as HST. Why? Why? Because first round, the penetration is very important to me, because that first round is the most likely, in my opinion, to be getting a good heart shot or central nervous system shot. Most probability of that. And yes, this is not what other people do, but other people don't like it. I don't care. In a gun, 33 ounce gun like this, probably more once I added the F8 night sights and the awesome McGuard goodness here. Look at my multiple videos on this bad boy. I can handle the Plus P Plus. And some of my Plus P Plus is 9BP LE 115, and some of my Plus P Plus is Underwood 124. And yes, it's staggered, Dutch loaded, which people say not to do. In a heavy pistol, to a shooter of my caliber, it is not friggin' going to matter when I do fast 5, fast 5. Now, do I got HSTs after that? Yeah, I want more penetration after that. Some of my 45s in my reload magazines, it could be Golden Saber, 185 plus P, it could be HST, 230 grain, or in my reload magazines, it might be the first 4 or 5 of HST, and then the next 5 are 220 plus P critical duty, which has more energy, more penetration, less expansion. Why? Because in the rare chances of me getting an extended firefight, at that point, they may be in cars, or behind some other form of cover, where I'll trade a bit of expansion to more penetration. Now, as a civilian, do I got to worry about that primary and even police? No, the main thing, and the HSTs do good through steel and board and all FBI testing. HSTs do really, really good. Not quite as gold dots, which don't as expand more. That's why a lot of people like NYPD do 124 plus P gold dots. Mostly that's for windshield penetration, though HSTs do very good too, just not quite as deep. But barrel length is very, very important. So can a 9mm be effective? Yeah, with 124 plus P, or maybe typically 124 plus P plus, in something like this that can handle it. I don't shoot those loads though in my PPQ, because I don't know if the PPQ locking block, I think that's right. There's a part of the PPQ I'm not sure if it can really handle even enough for me to not worry about it. Versus this will eat it up all day long. Versus a Beretta 92 Brigadier will eat it up almost probably as long as this. That's why the original SEAL Team 6 was blowing up their Beretta slides, because they were shooting thousands upon thousands upon thousands around, from what I've heard, of 9BP LE 115 plus P plus. A known man stopper. Why? Because it pretty much replicates out of long barrels, almost gets to 357 Magnum 125 grain. Old school Federal or Remington loadings. So, penetration number 1 by far. Expansion number 2. Everyone talks, oh, we want the expansion. And even the guys at Federal, we want the expansion. You go listen to one Lucky Gunner Chris, and they mention tissue crust once in Lucky Gunner's video. Because yes, if most people and even most cops, unfortunately nowadays, have never done a damn push-up in their life. They got skinny little twig arms, and they can't handle recoil worth a damn, because they didn't grow up shooting, and they were taught like, oh my god, a 45, so much recoil. Oh my god, I've never shot a 357 Magnum in my life. Versus the shooters of yore that grew up shooting whatever, and they weren't pussies. So, a little bit of training and even smaller people can overcome that and shoot 45 ACP just as good as 9mm, if not just a slight difference in split times. Slight difference. And does that really matter all that much? Not that much. Though with a heavy 9mm, yeah, my split times are pretty darn crazy. Even my PPQs occasionally, you know, .14s. This is like .16, 17, 18. But in a realistic scenario, if you're shooting at .22s, even .25, a lot of trainers try to slow themselves down. I train a little differently because I realize you're going to go, oh shit, and you're going to be slapping that friggin' trigger. No, unless I'm in a firefight in Afghanistan and it's at extended yards, I'm not taking my time necessarily. The most important shot out of your pistol is your first one. Okay. So guys, below 3.5-inch barrels takeaway is HST in my opinion. Cheap hollow points we discussed yesterday. A cheap 9mm is probably very similar to 45 ball. I did the math on the tissue crush when no one else has. Okay? And if you want to talk about cheap 45 hollow points, as you look in Paul Harrell's videos, look at his 9mm versus 45 HST video. Compare the 9mm to the 45. Just look. Well, that's not Jello and Jello side. John, shut up, John. Look at the difference. Look at the difference in the ribs. Look at the difference of the diameter. Look at the difference of the tissue crush, which is a little artificially simulated in watermelon or oranges. as I lose light, but it gives you an idea. And it gives you a pretty good idea. Now, you saw that Paul Harrell's 5-inch cheap Winchester personal defense, 230 grain, jacketed hollow point, performed real damn well even from 25 yards in that video. Yes, if you have a 5-inch barrel, 45, which in the old days was the standard government model 1911, a lot of even the cheaper hollow points will perform very well. Also, a lot of the top of the line Winchester hollow points will perform very well out of a 5-inch barrel. They probably will perform well out of a 4 1/4, but they probably will not perform well below 4 1/4. A lot of 45 hollow points do not perform well below 4 1/4 inch barrel. You need to know that. We know that Golden Saber 185 plus P performs well from the 3.64 inch barrel. So maybe you're using a Glock 30S like SIS because you want that capacity. You want everything. You want everything, baby. Lightweight capacity and 45 goodness. Okay, why SIS? Because they knew how to take out third strike felons doing violent felonies on their third strike. And they got in a heck of a lot of gunfights. They're the ones that came up with the idea of putting a Glock 36 slide on a Glock 30 SF frame. And then all Glock had to do was change a couple parts like the mag release, the slide release, I think. Okay, I digress. But less than 4 1/4 inch barrels and 45, you got to be real careful with your ammunition choices. We know Golden Saber 185 plus P from Lucky Gunner does well. We know that HST does well in 3.3 inch barrel, 3 1/4 inch barrel. We know HST does well. And I've seen tests at a low as 725 feet per second where 230 grain HST performs well. That'd be like a 3-inch barrel. I prefer to edge at 3 1/4 and 45 with HST. I know there's some 1911s 3-inch. My choice would always be 3.5 inch or like commander length, 4 1/4 length in that platform. That feeds hollow points reliably. By the way, if it doesn't feed HSTs, it probably feeds the Golden Sabers okay. So guys, barrel length is very important. Capacity. How important is capacity? As I lose light here, capacity can be very important in today's times with rioters. With terrorists, it could be important. Okay, it could be more important than usual. Is it usually important? My default, as I've always taught, is you want 9 in gun a 45 or 11 in gun a 9mm. Even with my tiny little mag, my PPQSC's got 11 in it. Even the CW I showed you the other day is a 6+1 gun, but I show you it functions fine with 7-round ACT magazines, and it functions fine with 8-round slightly modified ACT magazines. I carry 8+1 on the hip with that gun, and I carry 7+1 in jeans as my backup in jeans. And I used to carry 8+1 in the shorts. Actually, the hole in my short pocket a little bit bigger so I could get good clearance on it. Why don't I carry the PPQ in the jeans? Because the sights tend to snag, the sights are the night sights I have in that are sharp. Okay, so guys, capacity can matter. If 45 is twice as effective in tissue crush as 9mm, you got to consider that. If 45 ball is 62% more effective than 9mm ball for stocking purses, you might want to consider that. Though SHTF, I've totally lost light here. SHTF, yes, you do consider weight as well, but you can buy a lot more. In the old days, you could buy a lot more 45 Tula steel ball than you could cheap hollow points, which are going to be about as effective, and cheap hollow points are a lot more expensive. So capacity. Look at Paul Harrell talking about it. I don't like less than 9 in gun ready to go because 3 bad guys, 3 shots each. That's why. One bad guy might take 9 and I'll only hit him for every 8 shots on YPD fired, only 1.6 hits. What does it take to stop most bad guys? At least 3 shots in any caliber. Okay, so keep these things in mind. Hopefully you guys go back and watch part 1. Sorry I lost the light. But can a 9mm be pretty effective with the right ammo choices, especially in longer barrel length? Yeah, but everyone's being lazy because everyone told them 9mm is just as good. They take their little 3-inch barrel and their standard crushers suck. Especially like Critical Duty Stuck's a 9mm. It's pretty darn good in 45. It's pretty darn good in 10mm. It is not very good in 9mm. It is not. It's good at penetration. Does everything XDP does. That's all it does. Really sucky expansion. Be good for a backup magazine, but not a primary. The most important shot of your pistol is the first shot. because that first shot's the one you should be getting on your upper thoracic cavity or a headshot under 2 seconds. The first shot's the most important. Past that, what's the most important shot? The first shot on target if your first shot didn't hit. Is it generally, you know, round number 10, 11, 12? Are those the most important? No. Because a lot of times it's settled in a few rounds, let alone 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, like Tom Given's instructor supposedly fired in their defensive gun use. So, can capacity matter? Yeah, depending on where I'm going now at night. We've talked about my shtf setup, 21 rounds of goodness. My other setup next to my bed, 22 rounds of goodness. Yeah, it can matter, especially if I think I might have to exit the house for some reason, and maybe without a reload on me. Okay, I always carry extra magazines. You should too. It's not that difficult. Anyway, guys, 9mm verse 45. Please thumbs up, share, subscribe. Stay safe, everybody. Look at my best pew review playlist. Look at all my playlists. Learn some creatives. Catch jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and all the goodness that I offer. Catch you on the flip side.